The Tennessee Titans have to be one of the weirdest teams in the NFL. After a shaky start to the season, they went on a fantastic 6-game win streak in which they beat teams like the Chiefs, Rams, and Bills. However, in the process, they lost Derrick Henry for the rest of the regular season. And despite his loss, a lot of people still believe that the Tennessee Titans were a premier contender, and a lot of people placed them in that top dog premier contender, category. And that was because of those impressive wins. But then the loss to the Houston Texans happened yesterday, and now plenty of people are doubting just how good this team is. And in today's video, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Tennessee Titans and answer the question, how good are the Titans? Before this video does get started, please go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoyed, as it really does help out the channel. And also make sure to subscribe if you guys are new and you guys enjoy this type of content, so you don't miss out on any new videos like this. Plus, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and once we hit our goal, I am finally gonna do a face reveal. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get this video started. Let's start out with the offensive side of the football. Ryan Tannehill is the first guy we'll go over. Ryan Tannehill, admittedly, he has definitely had a down season in 2021. But that being said, I still consider him to be one of the better starting quarterbacks in the NFL. He's pretty smart with the football for the most part. He's pretty calm, and collected, and he can throw at pretty much every single level of the field. And also, he can use his legs when needed. That is an underrated part of Ryan Tannehill. This guy, he can definitely run the football despite his age, and despite the fact that he looks like a guy, who doesn't look like he can really run the football all that well. But Ryan Tannehill, he's a pretty good player. Now, there's no denying he's had his fair share of bad moments this year, like the Texans game that happened yesterday, but he's still a really good player, and I feel like the Titans need to trust him more, and they need to throw the ball more now that Derrick Henry, is out. I know he's had a down year, but I do feel like Ryan Tannehill, he's not a complete game manager. Even though he is, kind of a game manager, I mean, he can still do things even without Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill, overall, he's a very good player. Now, speaking of Derrick Henry, I gotta give him a mention, even though he is out the rest of the regular season. Before he went down with his injury, he was a legit MVP candidate, and he was doing Derrick Henry things, and honestly, you can argue that he should have, that he definitely was the league MVP at the midpoint of the season and before his injury. I'm not going to argue with you on that if you believe that, because Derrick Henry, he was very good before he got injured. And honestly, when you think of the Tennessee Titans, you think of Derrick Henry. And I mean, again, I know that he's injured right now, but Derrick Henry, he's one of the best players in the NFL, and I still had to talk about him, when talking about the Tennessee Titans. Now, let's go ahead and talk about their wide receiving core. Their wide receiving core, when healthy, it is very good to say the least. Despite his age, Julio Jones, he is still one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Again, good size, good athleticism. He's still very fast. He's pretty strong as well, and he is a terrific route runner. And overall, just great Julio Jones stuff. Now, that being said, this is not the same Julio Jones we saw, in his prime, back in like 2015, 2016, but he's still a really good player, and still one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and still arguably a top 5 receiver in the league. They also do have AJ Brown, who's quickly becoming one of the better wideouts in the league, and although he has struggled with some injury issues this year, he's very good when he's on the field. And if he's considered your number 2 wide receiver, that's how you know he is you have a good wide receiving core, at least when healthy. And then I also do want to give a mention to Jeremy Nichols, because although he is not a wide receiver, he's a running back. He's a pretty good receiving back, and the Titans, they've used him quite a bit in the passing game this year, and I mean, I wanted to give him a mention. Again, their wide receiving core, it's good, but the main issue is not the talent, it's remaining on the field consistently. And, Julio Jones and AJ Brown, they've both struggled with that, but, when they're on the field, they are super good. And honestly, one of the most unguardable wide receiving cores in the league, simply because of just, how good Julio Jones and AJ Brown, are. But overall, this Titans offense, it's very good, and it's clearly the strong suit of this team. Now let's move over to the Tennessee Titans defense. Now, the Titans defense, it's pretty clearly the weak point of the team. Their defense, it's still a bottom 12 unit, and that's largely due to their passing defense being awful. Kevin Baird, I have to say, he's been fantastic this year with 52 tackles, 5 picks, and 12 pass deflections, and a forced fumble. He's been having the best season of his career since he was an All-Pro in 2017. And Kevin Baird, I mean, he really should not be blamed, for the Tennessee Titans passing defense being so bad, because outside of him, the secondary isn't that good. Christian Fulton, he's been okay this year. Caleb Farley, their first-round pick from the 2021 NFL Draft, he only played in 3 games before getting injured, and now he's out the rest of the season. And Janoris Jenkins, I mean, he's kind of washed at this stage of his career. I mean, he was pretty good last season, but this year, he hasn't been that good. However, that being said, I do like their front 7 a lot, and I do believe it is one of the more underrated front 7s in the league. Harold Landry, he's been one of the best edge rushers in football this year, and he's amassed 10 sacks, 57 tackles, 12 tackles for a loss, 1 forced fumble, and 37 pressures. Overall, amazing stuff. I know he is in a contract year, and I think the money incentive is a big reason why he's playing out of his mind, and I do expect him to drop off a little bit next year, simply because this type of play, it's hard to sustain over year in and year out, and also the money factor, like assuming he gets paid, like it's gonna be hard. I don't really, assuming he gets paid, I don't think he'll have, as much of a drive, but that isn't to say that, he's, a guy who doesn't work hard, but you know what I mean. Harold Landry, he's been very good this year, and, I think money is a big part of it, but, I kind of think he deserves to get paid, and the Tennessee Titans, they should definitely do what they can to keep him in Nashville. And alongside him, Jeffrey Simmons has broken out with 39 tackles, 7.5 sacks, 10 tackles for a loss, and 19 pressures. This guy, he's quickly become one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. Plus, Danico Autry has proved to be a fantastic signing for them, and I absolutely love the signing when he was initially, when he initially was brought in by Tennessee, and he's recorded on 19 tackles, 5 sacks, 6 tackles for a loss, and 22 pressures. Overall, amazing stuff. However, that being said, I will say Bud Dupree, he hasn't done anything this year, and he has been one of the biggest free agency flops this season. Maybe the biggest free agency flop this season. That's something you really hate to see as a Titans fan when you consider how much money he got. So even though you hate that, I mean, this front 7, it's very good, and this pass rush is definitely vastly improved. I mean, they already got more sacks this year than they had all of last year. The linebacking core is also pretty solid as well. Jayon Brown, I have to say, he is one of the more underrated linebackers in the league, but he does have issues with staying on the field as of late, so that is something you really don't like to see, and he will be a free agent this year, and I don't know if he will be brought back. We'll have to see about that. And David Long, I have to say, he's pretty decent as well. And that being said, even though this front 7 is pretty good, this defense, again, it's just not that good, but that's largely due to their passing defense. And it also should be mentioned that Mike Vrabel, he is definitely one of the better head coaches in the league, so that does add to the positives, I will say that. Now, with all of that being laid out, just how good are the Titans? In my opinion, the Titans, they are a very good team, okay? Let's not overreact to one game. Bad games like this, they definitely happen. I know the Titans, did also lose to the New York Jets, but the Tennessee Titans are still a very good team. But at the same time, I don't think they are a top dog at this moment. They are missing their best player in Derrick Henry, and their offense essentially runs through him, and words can't describe, just how much his absence can affect the team, maybe will affect the team. Ryan Tannehill, he is good, but at the same time, he can really struggle, at times, and Derrick Henry, having him on the field really helps him out. And Ryan Tannehill, again, he does kind of play that elite game manager role. I know he's not a complete game manager, but at the same time, having Derrick Henry alongside him, it really does help out Ryan Tannehill. And although, he is good, but, at the same time, he's not great. And Derrick Henry, his absence, it is going to have a massive impact on the Tennessee Titans. And, it definitely could prove to bite them later on in the year. And, especially in the playoffs, assuming the Titans do make it that far. Not only that, but the Tennessee Titans defense, especially their passing defense, it is a massive weak link on the team. And that can definitely hold them back, in terms of, how far they make it this year. year, and it really does concern me. Not only that, but the Titans are the type of team that looks, like a juggernaut versus good teams, but then they look like a, harmless fly against bad teams, and I have to say, that's not really that good of a look. I mean, you definitely, you want to be consistent, not the type of team, that, again, looks like a juggernaut versus good teams, but then they play down, to their competition, whenever they play bad teams. Now, that being said, the Titans, they are a good football club, and they are not a pushover by any means, and not to mention, Derrick Henry, he might come back in January, assuming the Titans make the playoffs, and with him, I do think they are a top dog when healthy, but as of right now, with Henry not playing, Tennessee, they are a great team / borderline contender, but in my opinion, they are not a premier contender. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. It truly means a lot to me. Again, hit that like button if you enjoyed, as it really helps out the channel, and also make sure to subscribe, and so you don't miss out on any new videos like this. Plus, I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I will do a face reveal once I hit my goal of 1,000 subs. And also, 2 plugs. Make sure you guys go ahead and check out my podcast and my Twitter. Both will be in the description below. But without further ado, I'm out, you guys.